What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? Your buddy Big Johnny G from Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming is back with another Midday Monologue. So I'm out here on my lunch break. A little bit warm today here in New York City. A lot of sun right now. A lot of sun. Woo. But yeah, so I've been thinking to myself, I know a lot of you that have been watching this and been following me know how much I talk about how much I love Dungeons and Dragons. And it really is, it is one of the things that really defined me, but there's only one of three things that really defined me when I was a child. It still continues to define me to this day. And another one of those subjects is superheroes. I can't even tell you where it began with superheroes, because like most boys, most American boys growing up in the 70s, it was something that was just always there. It was just always superheroes in my life, whether it was cartoon shows, whether it was comic books. It was just always involved in my life somehow. We used to pretend we were superheroes when we were kids. I remember I used to put on one of my mom's rings, and I used to run around the house and pretend I was Green Lantern, you know, when I was a little kid. I just can't get enough of that genre. I think it's a fantastic, wonderful example of modern day mythology. But as far as superheroes go to the tabletop community, to the board game community, card game, the dice game community, I just want to say I'm a little bit let down, actually, by the amount of good superhero games that we have available to us out there. I mean, one thing is definitely for sure, and that's the fact that a lot of companies don't want to be spending the money they need to spend to get the rights to some of these franchise characters that Marvel owns and DC owns, particularly those top two. But I think that's a cop-out answer. I think that's a cop-out answer to say that we can't have many good superhero games because of the licensing cost. When you look at a company like Greater Than Games, who really blew up the tabletop companies, I think, when they came out with Greater Than Games several years ago. The Greater Than Games, sorry about that, they're Sentinels of the Multiverse game. A card-based game where each hero has his own fixed deck, and throughout that deck there's multiple powers and power tricks that the superheroes are able to use, much like in a real comic book. You don't find these one-dimensional characters anymore, you know, and that really changed the game, I think, for the tabletop games when it comes to the superhero genre. Now, there's been a couple of others that have followed. Heroes Wanted, it's another game that uses their own created heroes in a very tongue-in-cheek sort of way, but still they use their own heroes. They have their own sort of heroic universe set up like Marvel or DC does. And ILO Games came out with Guardians Chronicles, which is a miniature-based game, very similar to the miniature-based Greater Than Games' game they came out with as sort of not an add-on, but as sort of a side piece to Sentinels of the Multiverse. But outside of that, we find almost nothing if it's not Marvel or it's not DC. And I myself, I'm not a very big fan. I go out of my way to stay away from collectible card games these days. I cut my teeth on Magic when it first came out. I'm done with that. I'm done with chasing down rare cards with this Cold War that the players have with each other, secretly going out and buying stacks and stacks and stacks of these booster packs in order to get rare cards that are going to mess up your buddy because you know that he or she isn't spending the amount of money that you are. And that also goes for the collectible dice games too, like the Dice Master system, which unfortunately everyone tells me is a great system, that I should really try it. There's a Marvel Dice Master system, there's a Dungeons and Dragons Dice Master system, but again, it's chasing down these rare and ultra rare cards, or in this case dice. Totally turns me off. So why haven't we had that many really good games come out in the superhero genre? I'm not sure. I wish I understood why. I mean, I also think to myself that although a lot of the gamers out there, some of you watching this in particular, may frown upon the use of the term sandbox game when it comes to a board game, but regardless of what you want to call it, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. So you have these sandbox games that are fantastic. You know, you have Mage Knight and your Merchants and Marauders and Zaya Legend of a Drift system. That is what I would really love to see. I would really love to see an open-end sandbox kind of game for superheroes, you know, where you're going to be collecting victory points depending on whether you're stopping the supervillains or whether you're defeating superheroes, or maybe you're just doing your day job. In fact, that's something that most of these games that do deal with the superhero world completely forget about. The Villains and Vigilantes card game, which is based on the highly popular 1980s Villains and Vigilantes role-playing game, they do that. They have some cards in that system that it's going to matter what your day job is and if you're doing it. But it's not overly abundant in the game, but it's there. That's something else that we've been missing, is that superheroes aren't just these people behind the masks and their capes, you know, that they're people too. We need to see, I think, a superhero genre game that is sandboxy. It's really, right now, I mean, you look at it, the movies are doing some of the biggest box office hits they've ever done before because of superheroes, because we have the technology to make these superhero movies feel like comic books and look realistic when they do that. Now we need the gaming company, I think, to step up, and I really think that we need to see this open-end sandbox kind of universe embraced by the superhero genre. Whether, you know, one company's going to go out and they're going to try to get a franchise right from Marvel or DC to do this, or whether they're going to go like Greater Than Games did and just create their own universe of superheroes. Either way, this really is a niche that needs to be filled. The market is overflooded with zombie games and Cthulhu games constantly all the time. We don't see enough of this. We don't see enough of the superhero genre in the tabletop board game community. And I think that's something we need to change. So if you agree with that, you know, throw me a like. If you don't agree with it, put it down there in the comments and let me know what you don't like about it. But it really seems to be a niche that needs to be filled. We have this zeitgeist in movies right now with superheroes being gigantically huge, and yet we're not seeing that come across in the board game community in tabletop gaming. Why? Let's fix it. I don't know why, but let's fix it. Let's do something. Let these companies know this is something that you'd be interested in, and then they'll have a reason to publish it. Anyway, I'm your buddy Big Johnny G, Two Gun Pixie Presents. Remember to like us here, subscribe to us on YouTube, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're all over the place. All right, I am out of here.